We've made it through another week, which means it's time to get a pretty cool project finished. Welcome back to Boundless. Hey everyone, hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we're working on another farm design, this time for automatic wool production from some sheep friends. This design is super simple and works for both Java and Bedrock versions, and it's going to look pretty cool too. It's another big project, so let's jump straight into it. We'll start by clearing an area out for the build. I decided to build it in the pretty empty space around the greenhouse and villager trees. This build will be semi-similar to the Iron Forge in that we're going to build a nice looking decorative build on the surface, and the actual automatic farm will be underneath the surface. The only difference is this time we're going to make the farm look pretty nice too. I actually built the barn first, but let's start with the automatic sheep farm. The farm will actually end up being relatively large, so I cleared out a 16 by 16 by 16 area. We didn't end up using all of the space, but I figured I'd rather have the extra space instead of being cramped while trying to build. We eventually will have 16 pens so that we have one sheep for every color of wool in the game, and although I could put all of them on one level, I decided they would probably just look the best and be the most compact if I split the pens into two levels. To start, I built some stripped spruce log pillars vertically and horizontally outlining each pen. Each pen will be 3 blocks wide, which means the pillars need to be spaced out over 5 blocks. This is another one of those builds where I'm sacrificing some of the space efficiency for some attractiveness, but I think the end product is well worth it. Since the sheep need grass in order to regrow their wool, I wanted to make sure there was plenty of dirt/grass around so that they always had food. Then I added some more details to our wooden pillars by using that same spruce stair and trapdoor combo that we've already used in a ton of our builds. However, for the lights, I decided to try something a little bit different. I used grindstones with lanterns to make these really cool looking hanging lights. It adds a lot of shape and color to the room, and I think it looks a lot more interesting than if we just had some of the regular lanterns. Then I filled the back wall in with some planks and cobble walls, leaving space for the dispensers, which we'll be using later to shear the sheep. Then I copied the same design again on the second floor. Like I mentioned earlier, we want 16 total stalls, so I split that up into 2 floors of 8. Really complex math there. For the roof, I added some extra log pillars, which we'll detail a little bit later. Then for the floor and edge of each layer, I added a lining of dark oak trapdoors, which just adds some extra texture, and then some dark oak planks to kind of stand out from all the spruce blocks we've already used. Using the stairs for the upper level railing also attached to the grindstones that we placed, which kind of just makes it so they don't really look like they're just floating. I added some design to the ceiling, which had to be small since the block directly above us is actually the grass floor on the surface. Then in between each of the wooden pillars, I added some fences to keep the sheep in their place. On the top layer, I also added a small platform which kind of serves as the mid-floor between the bottom layer of the farm and the main barn building. I stuck mostly with the same block palette that we've been using, except this time I added some brick walls just to add some more color. We'll do this a couple of times throughout the build. One of the things I haven't 100% figured out yet is how we'll move from each layer and to the barn. So I just used some scaffolding as a temporary ladder, but maybe we'll add some slime launchers or water elevators later. I decided to change out the back walls as well of all the pens with stone blocks. We'll detail the stone with some andesite and cobble later, but I just wanted to make it look relatively not plain and definitely just get rid of some of that natural dirt and granite. Then finally, it was time to actually build the wool farm. The design is super simple in that each pen only needs one dispenser, one observer, and one piece of redstone. You start by placing an observer facing the grass block that the sheep will stand on. Then behind the observer you place a block with a piece of redstone on top. Then next to that redstone and facing the sheep you place a dispenser. If you put the shears in a dispenser and it faces a sheep with wool, it will actually shear the sheep when powered and drop the wool onto the ground. The farm works by whenever a sheep eats the grass to regrow his wool, the observer block notices the grass block changing to a dirt block and sends a redstone pulse, which is what powers the dispenser. Later we'll add a hopper minecart system underneath the floor to pick up all the wool, but you could use any normal item collection system to do this. Then came the always difficult task of moving all of the sheep to their pens. To do this, I used some leads to pull the sheep up and out of the pen of sheep in the middle. That way they didn't all escape and get all over the place. You'll kind of see me struggling to get them to stay in the 1 block area, but in the end I finally moved all 16 sheep to the grass block. It's super important that the sheep stays on the 1 block that the dispenser is facing, because the sheep needs to be standing there for the wool to be sheared. After doing the first layer, I got pretty annoyed with the sheep, so I took a short break to install the hopper minecart system. We needed a hopper minecart to run underneath the grass blocks of the sheep on both layers, so I used some dark oak slabs to make space for the track underneath the top layer, and then added some stairs to connect to the rails on the bottom layer. Again, this track isn't the most efficient, but I wanted to make it completely invisible from the farm room, so I had to do some extra building to keep it hidden. On the stairs connecting the 2 levels, I used some hoppers underneath the track, which actually pulled the wool drops out of the hopper minecart. Then I ran the hopper line into a small area that I cleared out for some chests on the bottom layer. At some point I may add an item filter line to filter out all of the different wool colors, but for now I'm just going to have all the drops go into 5 double chests. Then once I got all the hoppers and chests connected and hidden, I had to go back to getting all of the sheep in their pens. Last step was to get rid of our temporary sheep pen and finish up the floor. Then I went through and colored each sheep in rainbow order. I'm actually still missing some of the dyes, so I had to leave some of the sheep white. But as I collect some cactus and cocoa beans, I'll be able to complete our sheep rainbow. That's it for the actual automatic farms, so let's get to building the actual building for our base. To connect our wool farm up with the rest of the builds, I thought it'd be cool to make a big barn with a small wheat farm and stable sections so that it would kind of look like a normal sheep farm. I built a fence outlining the main yard area and then started on the stable building. The stable will be pretty short and kind of resemble the sheep pens that we built below. For the roof I used a curved design with some dark oak lines running through the center just to kind of break up the spruce a bit. Then for the walls I used stone, brick, and cobble walls to add some color and just some extra depth. I added some overhang sections on the side of the barn as well, which kind of will work into the roof and just give us some more space to put storage or detail. Then for the walls I built a stone base and then used the same block palette that we've used for pretty much all of our other buildings. I decided to add a curved roof that was super similar to that of the greenhouse, except this time the roof only has 2 small windows as opposed to everything being grass. Then I filled in the walls on both sides of the roof and just kind of added some more detail to make the building fit. If you can't tell, this build was pretty simple and just was a lot of copying different parts from a bunch of our other previous projects. A lot of what makes this build look cool is the detailing, which I'll do a little bit today, but the simplicity of the build definitely did not make it quick. I spent a ton of time building the automatic sheep farm, so unfortunately we won't get to a ton of detailing this week, but I'll make sure to show you guys all of the finished detail at the start of next week's episode. That's going to do it for this week's project. I think the building turned out super cool and I'm super excited to add a bunch of nice looking detail before next week. As you can see, there is some nice area for some sheep living up here, which they're probably enjoying their time a lot more than the sheep below. Obviously the inside of the building also needs a lot of work and even another wall or something to connect to the overhang. We also have some other floors, and especially the top floor with all the windows has a lot of potential for something pretty cool. But of course, the most important thing that we built today is the automatic farm itself. Like I mentioned earlier, right now we access the farm by a scaffolding elevator, and once you go down you can see everything in action. Unfortunately, since we are shearing the sheep as soon as they grow their wool, we don't get to see all the pretty colors, but oh well, at least it's functional. This is everything we've gotten in just a couple minutes that I've been recording, so we'll definitely have way more than enough wool for our future projects. But anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this week's episode and following along for the sheep farm project. As always, if you have any ideas for projects or anything, let me know in the comments to maybe see it in a future episode. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the sub button so you don't miss out on upcoming videos, smack the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next week for another project. Thanks for watching.